on the streets and in shelters and all over. And so I want to make sure that they have time to present. So we're going to start with an opportunity. Zara is the founder and executive director, and Juliana is a youth ambassador. Zara saw the need and was inspired to help homeless youth through a calling of the heart. She's been the champion of Marin's Forgotten Youth who are homeless for the past 12 years. Ambassador of Hope and Opportunity is Marin's only nonprofit organization providing hope for an estimated 2,600 teens and young adults between the age of 18 and 25 who are homeless in our community each day. Their organization has received many accolades for its unique and comprehensive program model, including the Hero of Marin and the National Jefferson Award for Humanitarian Service. Most recently, Zara just received the Marin Women's Hall of Fame Award for 2017. I will introduce the other panelists as we go. So with further ado, go ahead.
Well, I'm really excited to be back here at Dominican University. In our early years, Julia, where are you? Van der Ren hosted us at the Creekside Room for our first ever forum, where we brought together youth that were homeless to share their stories, and some community and political leaders that also shared about this issue. As you just heard, we're 12 years old, and Marin's only nonprofit focused on youth 18 to 25 who are homeless or at risk of being homeless. They're coming from families that have drug alcohol issues, abuse issues, mental health issues, parents who are incarcerated. There's a large percentage of youth who have been kicked out of their families because of their sexual orientation. And these young people do not have funding streams to support them when they don't have family support or resources when they turn 18. So that's our role in this community, and it's been a really exciting and challenging journey with what we're doing, because in spite of the fact that our youth give back as ambassadors, like you'll meet Juliana shortly, who are spokespersons of their experience with community and political leaders, not just here in Marin, but in Sacramento. Our county's 10-year plan to end homelessness does not include youth. And they represent 28% of the homeless in Marin County. And that's of the recent 2015 point-in-time count that's required by the federal Department of HUD for each county. So I'm excited to be in this space meeting all of you students, because the youth that we're helping are ages 18 to 25. And we help them in a unique way, meeting them in cafes, parks, wherever they might meet a friend, rather in any clinical setting. And from that initial meeting, the youth will share their struggles. And at the end of our meeting, I'll ask them what are the top 3 things that you might need help with to move forward. So it comes from them. And then I step in and say, and this is how we can help. We have 86 community partners, including professionals like dentists that offer their time pro bono, not just for teeth cleaning, but for root canals, extracting wisdom teeth. We have amazing community partners. So I just wanted to share that. We have a short video of some youth sharing their stories, and that I'm really proud to introduce you to Juliana, one of our youth ambassadors of hope. Our youth give back for the help that we provide, and they create youth-led projects that bring more awareness and funding to our work. AHO Cottage, which is located in Mill Valley, but we work with youth all over Marin County. And to date, we've successfully helped over 1,500 young people get into housing, employment, counseling, legal help.
I don't know, there's no sound, so I don't know what I think we have to hear. I have no idea what it is.
Jamie's coming. Here comes Jamie.
You can go to the AHO website and watch this video.
While they're figuring out when she.
Juliana. I'm 23 years old, and I met Zara back in February. I am from Marin, and I came back to Marin last December. I was in an abusive relationship with my partner, and my mom kicked me out of her house. And I was living in my church basement in San Anselmo for a couple months. And Zara's murals that her youth did a couple years back were in my church, and that's how I connected with Zara. It took me a little while to even want to call her. Wasn't sure if I wanted to say that I needed the help. And then one day I called her. I found her card in my wallet when I had a problem with my cell phone. I broke it, and so I was like, I needed to figure out how to get it. And so I remembered her saying that she helped people out, and so I called her, and we met at Aroma Cafe in downtown Santa Fe. And that's when Zara first started working with me, helping me kind of get back on track, helping me get employment. I had interviews with Starbucks and Goodwill at the time. I was working at Bed Bath & Beyond. And she just really kind of like gave me an opportunity to come be on her youth team and help her with our AHO Youth Connect that we had back in October at First Presbyterian Church Center Bell. And I was able to get more leadership experience by leading those meetings, which was really beneficial for me. Something that I was studying when I was in college was youth ministry. And I was pursuing to work with youth, and so the leadership skills that she's helping me gain again is what I want to pursue eventually. And another big help was making certain connections with Zara. We meet at COM for our meetings, and one of the professors there actually is helping me get back into college learning so that I can finish my last 21 credits in my bachelor's. I think it was July or something, I ended up getting back with my ex and moving out of Marin for a little bit, and then coming back to Marin after realizing that I wasn't working, and Zara was like all hands on helping me out. I ended up in Mill Street Shelter in Santa Fe for about 3 weeks until I got a job at Safeway. I currently work at Safeway on B Street. I'm a checker, and that was a fast track for me to get into New Beginnings in Hamilton. And so I've been at New Beginnings since October, and I get 6 months there to help with finding transitional housing and stuff. And so that's been like the biggest thing for me now, is to just save my money and kind of find my housing. And Zara's been helping me. She helped me pay my first month's rent. And so it's been a blessing to have Zara in my life. Thank you.
Can you move forward and fill in that there's a lot of seats here?
We're sorry we didn't bring microphone. We didn't expect
Didn't
this
bring a
many.
mic. We're so happy everybody's
We're
here.
glad everybody's here. So we're going to leave for each 1 or 2 questions after each one, and then we'll hopefully have some time at the end. So if anybody has a question or two, and if not, we can have conversation at the end. But okay, well, we'll move on and we'll have conversation at the end. No problem.
Can I just share one last?
Hand up.
We currently have 9 businesses that we work with that fast track our youth into employment, including Gelati Construction, Safeway, Target, Conservation Corps, Comcast, Old Navy, and Goodwill, and there's one more, Outback Restaurant. And just this year, Starbucks Corporation has come on board big time. The Northern California Regional Director and all the district managers are behind what we're doing because they reached out to us knowing that a lot of their team members are living in cars, couch surfing, and need the kind of help that we provide. So we're really blessed for that new partnership with Starbucks and these other companies. Thanks.
So our next panelist, there's two of you and I only got one name, so you'll have to introduce yourself, is Logan McDonald. He's from the Downtown Streets team and he's the San Rafael project manager. Logan McDonald is a New York native, graduate of Florida A&M University in Florida, where he majored in criminal justice, minored in social work. He started working with the homeless in San Jose, with the large homeless encampment there. Many of you probably heard the jungle. And he was case managed in a housing program. Now he currently works in San Rafael as a project manager in Marin County, and their mission, Downtown Streets team, is to end homelessness through the dignity of work. His primary focus is helping the homeless get their dignity back, getting them gainfully employed, and securing housing. He recently launched Put Your Change to Work, a program designed to reduce panhandling by offering alternatives for both those who give and receive on the street.
Thank you. So thank you for having me today. This is Jesse Taylor Vermont. He's our employment specialist. And as she just stated, our mission is to end homelessness through the dignity of work. And what that means is we actually provide a platform where homeless volunteers can go out to the street, do beautification projects, and earn their dignity back. We don't really consider ourselves to be service providers as we consider ourselves to be dignity providers. We actually encourage them to go out, hold themselves accountable, and through peer-to-peer outreach, bring more people to the team. They go out and sweep, and they get to work with an employment specialist and a case manager to work on their barriers to housing and to employment, and hopefully we get them back into the workforce. What does that mean? That means that we don't just say they're hiring, that means you need to go. We want to make sure that we're focused on retention, which means that we've developed pipelines with PG&E and other great businesses that have gave them $18 an hour jobs, $27 with overtime. And anything that they're willing to do, if they're willing to jump through any hoops, that means we're willing to jump through those same hoops. So we actually have great partners in the community, such as Ritter Center, St. Vincent's, that provide a lot of great things for our team members. By the way, we do refer to them as team members. That means they're not clients to us. Specifically, they're actually peers to us. We've actually launched, as you said, Put Your Change to Work, which is the purple meters up and down 4th Street. What that means is we're encouraging panhandlers to join the streets team, and we have them do an outreach to other panhandlers, and we say, join the streets team, and we could get you back into self-sufficiency. What does that mean for our future? We're actually launching in Novato next month, and one of my biggest missions right now is to get a subsidy program in place. I just need the funding, so everybody, positive vibes. If I get this funding, and one of our team members could actually hold the job longer than 3 months, that means that we'll actually be able to temporarily pay for the housing for the next couple years until they get back on their feet. So that's one of our other missions. And Jesse, do you have anything you want to add?
It's been great having such great community support. I know the holiday season is coming up, so definitely pay attention to all the nonprofits in the community. Now's the time. We have an annual day of giving coming up, so we really appreciate all the community support we've gotten over the last few years. Thank you.
And just to add, our track record since we've actually started in Palo Alto in 2005. We have 8 branches, and even though it just started off with my executive director running around, operating out of a broom closet, trying to give gift cards to team members, we've actually gotten to this point where we're in 8 different branches. We've reached over 1,000 successes of either employment or housing. And in Marin County alone, we've actually gotten 67 homeless individuals into employment and 33 into housing. So, thank you.
Lynn, want to talk about what we've done with Dominican partnering with Downtown Streets teams? Is it a few minutes left?
But we've got two community HR classes with Downtown Streets Team's members. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to say anything, but we basically had a really great opportunity to work with the team members to create different. One was a big mural in Boyd Park, that was the last one, and before that we were part of the Creative Voices, San Rafael Creative Voices project, and we did the windows of an empty restaurant on 4th Street. But it was a really great opportunity for our students to work firsthand with the fantastic DST members and really get to hear their stories at the same time that the DST members got to be really involved in that extra layer of beautification of San Rafael.
And they came to campus and were in the class together with our students.
And one last thing, I want everybody to pay attention to this young lady in the yellow jacket. She's actually working on a poverty simulation, all right? Sometime in March, that means...
March 17th.
March 17th, if you see her in the hallway, ask her what the status is, and it's gonna be a very great experience. Just follow up with her.
What?
You want to say a word? Nope, okay. Any questions for Downtown Streets teams?
Question, when did the Downtown Streets team start in San Rafael?
In San Rafael, 2013,
Thank you.
June.
Other questions?
What's the difference between a team member and an employee?
So an employee is a paid staff member with benefits and things like that. A team member is a homeless volunteer that goes out and does beautification projects on the street.
And no pay?
And no pay, no. We give out basic needs stipends and they get case management, but outside of that, they don't get paid.
So they're not W-2 employees?
No, they're not employees, they're volunteers.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll save your questions to the end so we can have some conversation.
Wait, real quick,
Yeah.
they do get paid in dignity though.
Let's give a hand Downtown Streets team. Next panelist is Simone Tiles? Tiles, sorry. Simone Tiles, he's from Ritter House, also a community partner of ours. He's the Director of Operations and Community Development. Simone joined the Ritter Center in 2009. He's originally from Venezuela. He has significant experience working with underserved communities, including day laborers in Marin, as well as Latino students and their families at both Berkeley and San Rafael High Schools. He first joined the Ritter team as a project coordinator to help create an employment resource for day laborers and part-time workers. He then served as a case manager and disability advocate for 3 years before transitioning to his current role. So please welcome Simone.
Thank you for having me. The Ritter Center is a social service agency that has been providing services in downtown San Rafael for the last 36 years. We started very small, but the reality is that the need in our community is so large that over the last 36 years we have expanded to be the agency that we are today. And what that means is that today we're a federally qualified health center that provides not only health services, but behavioral health services for low-income individuals and families, including homeless individuals out in the community. And then on top of that, we also have what we call day services for people that are homeless. So we offer showers and laundry 5 days a week. We also provide a public restaurant right downtown for people that don't have access to a restaurant on a regular basis. We have a food pantry as well that provides about 300 meals every week. 100 of those meals goes towards homeless individuals. 200 of those meals goes to families that live in the neighborhood. We offer case management that includes rental assistance, social security benefits enrollment, what else? Substance use counseling as well. We try to integrate a lot of services so that when anyone comes into the Ritter Center, they can choose what they want to access, but we see a lot of what we do in the engagement process. So if somebody comes in for a service, our case managers usually sit down with this individual and are able to get a sense of what they need, what they might be looking for, and we try to have a conversation to encourage those individuals to access those services. Sometimes those services are in-house, sometimes those services are in a partner agency. So we pick up the phone and we make the referral out to those agencies. But kind of like what I said at the beginning, I think that the big key, and I think that the big conversation that we need to have in our community is that I think a lot of people assume that because we live in a very affluent community, that there is no need, that there is no poverty, that there is no people that struggle on a daily basis. But the truth is actually very far from that. That's been my experience. Even in the school systems, when I first took a job at San Rafael High, I said, are there Latino families? Really? I'm going to have to, how many people are there? And when I went to San Rafael High, about 45% of the families speak Spanish. So, and a lot of them were completely disenfranchised from the school district. So there's a lot of people in our community that we see on a daily basis that are part of the community but are not. They participate somehow but not fully into what we do. And we have to figure out a way to have a conversation in how, as a community, we take care of those that are in need. Because if we want to improve the well-being of the community, we need to improve the well-being of those individuals. It's a difficult conversation, and for years and years, it's been polarized. It's been always not here, they don't exist, they don't have a right, they don't have documents, they don't have a house, they don't pay taxes. But the truth of the matter is that the conversation needs to stop being polarized, and we need to, as a community, sit back at the table all together and bring the issue back to the middle of the table. It's not easy, right? We're not all going to get what we want. Otherwise, a perfect world would exist, but it doesn't, right? So we need to be conscious of that as well. Let's not polarize the conversation. Let's bring it back to the table. Let's be able to be honest about what we can accomplish as a community, and sort of continue to work going forward. It's surprising the amount of need that we have here in the county. The last homeless count reported, I think somewhere between 3,000 people that were homeless in the county. But
Can't hear you.
The last homeless count, I think, had about 3,000 people that were homeless. But there's a lot more people that we don't see that are not counted. There's a lot of people that are doubled up, tripled up in an apartment. There's a lot of people that are couch surfing. There's a lot of people that are camping up on the hills. There's a lot of people that are sleeping in their cars. Or they're just pitching a tent up in a friend's backyard. Again, our food pantry, which is just one out of an entire network of about 37 or 40 pantries in the community, usually distributes about 7,000 to 10,000 pounds of food every week. And that's only 300 meals. And if you ask the food bank, they will tell you that they are not reaching anywhere near close the amount of need in the county. And part of that group of people that we don't see includes seniors. We don't have enough conversation in this community about the amount of seniors that have lived in Marine for years and years and years on a fixed income, that have to choose every month between paying rent, paying PG&E, and buying groceries. And you know what? A lot of them are choosing not to pay PG&E, or not to pay their rent, or not to buy food, or not to pay for their medications. The complexities of all these choices, when you start to combine them year after year, month after month, mean that a lot of people, when they come to an agency like ours, they have 6 months of having not paid rent. They have a year or two of maybe not taking their medications, or just sporadically taking their medications. So it's a very complex issue. I don't mean to depress everyone with the reality of what we see, but I think having these kind of conversations should encourage us as a community to be honest about what it is that is happening, to the number of people that is happening, and to be able to address it as a community. The only way we're going to solve these problems is coming together as a community. I cannot tell you that I wish that 10 years down the road the Reader Center would close, because there would not be anyone poor in the community. I would happily find another job, and all my coworkers would. And it's very unfortunate that we have that level of need, and that we have to, right now, just continue to provide band-aids rather than real systemic changes. And one of the things that I love about partnering with Dominican in your service learning program is I think it allows us to start having this conversation with the younger generations, with the generations that might eventually make the change that needs to happen. Because right now we're too polarized and too locked into the way that we have been doing things that is not working. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having this level of conversation. Thank you for listening to all the depressing things I have to say. But let's have this opportunity be the beginning of an honest community conversation about what we could do moving forward so that we could help those in need. And you never know. It might be tomorrow that I'm the one in need. That's the other thing that tends to happen. We tend to forget that truly there's a lot of people that just have one or two bad breaks and then everything sort of collapses around them. And when you have to carry the amount of baggage that comes with trauma, bad financial decisions, bad credit, it's so difficult to put your lives together. You can figure everything else out, right? You might be able to figure out your trauma. You might get on some medication, but if you have bad credit, nobody will rent to you, right? So let's work together. Let's make the changes that we need to make as a community. And thank you for having me.
You have some questions for Savon?
Yes, I have three. Homelessness is a 24/7 deal for those who are homeless. And you mentioned about that Ritter provides bathrooms, but Ritter's closes at 5 p.m. They open at 8 a.m. 5 days a week. So there are no bathroom facilities for homeless during the periods when Ritter is closed. Second point, duplication of services. Ritter does not provide the only health services for homeless and needy. There are a number of other agencies that are also providing the same service, including the County of Marin. And lastly, food. You mentioned the food pantry, but I don't think most of the people in the audience understand that there are 47 food banks throughout Marin County. So Ritter is one, I get that, but what about the others? Thank you.
All right, so question number one, and this is something that has come up a lot over the last year. If you guys have been around and have followed a lot of the news, Reader Center has been sort of a hot topic of conversation in the community because of the services that we provide. And bathroom is one of those issues that usually comes up. Because there's a lot of people that, as Mr. Landecker mentioned, that uses streets as their bathrooms at night and during the weekends. And it's a real valid point because there's no public restrooms in downtown Santa Fe, and the city of Santa Fe chooses not to provide public restrooms. So Reader Center is actually providing a band-aid for the city's choice not to provide public restrooms. We wish we could staff a bathroom that is open 24 hours a day, but we can't. So it is a problem for the community? Yeah, it is. We wish we could do more, but we can't. And we wish that the city and the county would probably take a step forward and help us provide ongoing 24/7, 7 days a week restrooms downtown, so that people that have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night would actually have a valid choice of somewhere to go rather than a doorway or a street. The second question, Mr. Landecker, was about
Duplication of services.
So that's another one of those very common comments that you hear about a lot of social providers, that the services are duplicated. And true, there is other community clinics in the county, but they tend to target people in groups. Most of the families are providing services at the Marine Community Clinics. We provide a lot of health-centered services to people that are homeless. Marine City Health Awareness does provide some medical services for individuals that are homeless as well. But when you imagine, and Paul provided me with a number, the last count for homeless was about 1,300 individuals. We don't have the capacity to see 1,300 patients. So it's not a duplication of services, but it's actually making sure that there is not a wrong door for people to access services throughout the county. So if there's 1,300 people that need service and we don't have this physical capacity, I think it's okay for other clinics to take on that role and make sure that we can provide clinical services for everybody that needs it. The same thing happens with the pantry services. That's another one of those things that we tend to hear a lot. And yes, there is 47 pantries in the county, but each pantry has a geographical breakdown. They provide services for very specific neighborhoods. And the idea behind that is that if somebody has to get on the bus and ride for an hour to go to a pantry to get a bag of groceries, they will not do that because it takes too much of their time just to get a little bit of supplemental food. So all the pantries are break down by region so that people literally just have to walk a few blocks to get the food. So even though there's 47 pantries, people from Novato or Point Reyes are not coming down to Ritter to use that pantry. So the number of services are broken down because the need in the community says that we need to be able to provide the services where they are needed the most. Like I said, we only provide about 300 meals every week. If you look at the number from the food bank, the need in the county is much larger than that. And we don't have the space to provide any more meals besides 300. We wish we could. We wish we actually had a mobile truck to actually take food where people are. But we don't have the capacity. So, again, the way that the services are broken down is just to provide a better services for those who need.
Time for one more question?
So is that like a negative thing that you repeat with the services? I don't understand why that's a bad thing. You know, negative tone.
Well, I think
What's the question?
I was asking, is that a negative thing if you repeat services? Because there's kind of a negative tone, no offense to the gentleman, but it kind of seemed like it was kind of...
Well, I think that's usually what Mr. Landiger mentioned are usually some of the complaints that we hear in the community about the services that we provide. One is that people go use the restroom out in a doorway or a business downtown because we exist and because we have bathrooms. But again, I see it kind of the other way. I think we should provide a service and very limited services because there's a need out in the community. And we wish that the city or the county would help us supplement that service to a point where people would have access to a bathroom 24/7. And the comment about the pantry is from his perspective, is I think a little bit of a negative tone, in that there is this sense that there is 47
Excuse me,
pantries.
no, not negative.
Oh, that's just my opinion.
All right.
The way I perceive.
All right. So, but the comment out in the community is that because there are 47 pantries, that there is not a need for another one. That's usually the comment or the tone that comes associated with that comment.
Wait, I'm going to just pick on the students first, okay?
So I'm a nursing student here in Dominican, but I also happen to work in the emergency room at Roosevelt Hospital, and we interact with a lot of global homeless population, and a lot of them love their house and the services that they provide, and are extremely grateful for everything that they're offering. And I heard, you know, the shut down of the house. We were all very sad and nervous for the homeless patients that we interact with on a daily basis. So I'm glad that you guys are providing the services that you do because our patients rely on them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we got comments and questions, and then we'll have to move on.
It's for the students, I think.
Stand up.
For the students, I think it would be beneficial to define what a pantry is, because I don't think people know what a pantry is for the homeless.
All right, so the food pantry is a pantry where the Marine, the San Francisco Food Bank, allows us to provide supplemental groceries to anyone that lives below a percentage of the poverty line. And what that usually means is on Mondays and Wednesdays, the food bank brings about 7,000 pounds of groceries, and that includes, and everything is very specific. So if you're somebody that has a house,
there's a specific set of groceries that come for that group of individuals and families. And if you're somebody that is homeless, you have access to sort of a different set of groceries that are a lot easier for you to eat on the go, that you don't need access to a stove. So if you're homeless, we tend to get a lot of peanut butter, bread, and canned goods, so something that they could easily eat on the go. Now, the food bank has been great over the last couple of years, and the amount of food that we tend to get is tons of it and great. So we are also able to provide a lot of fruit and vegetables for people that are homeless as well. But it's completely free, and the way it works at Ritter is that you could come by any day of the week, Monday through Friday, to get about 2 grocery bags full of supplemental food.
There's one other. Okay, we're going to move on. Save your questions till the end. Our next panelist is Reverend Paul Gaffney. He's from the Marin Interfaith Street Chaplaincy. He's the chaplain. He graduated from Hiram College and worked after that for 2 years in a nonprofit service organization in Cleveland, and then came here to San Anselmo to go to San Francisco Theological Seminary. During his 3rd year in seminary, he began working with the street chaplaincy, and he graduated in 2004 with a ministry degree. By 2005, he was the sole chaplain of the street chaplaincy. He provides emotional and spiritual support to people in transition. He's ordained in the Disciples of Christ Church and is also a lay-ordained student of Taigen Leighton in the Soto Zen Buddhist tradition. In 2014, Paul was named the Shaw Fellow for Chaplaincy and Clinical Pastoral Education at San Francisco Theological Seminary, and he's now training as a clinical pastoral educational supervisor through the Association of Clinical Pastoral Education. Please welcome Paul.
So I'll keep it sort of brief. So the work that I do is different, I think, from a lot of the work that my fellow panelists do, in that I don't provide any direct service. So I don't have money or food really for people. I don't give them jobs. Certainly try to give them dignity. What I do is what's commonly called a ministry of presence. So it's being in the community with people, hearing their stories, and offering them support. People who are homeless are stressed out like all the time, living in sort of a constant state of survival. It's very difficult to accomplish tasks when one is constantly in this survival mode. So there's a quote that I really resonate with from Krishnamurti, who was a philosopher in the early 20th century. And he says that it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And homelessness, as I've come to understand it, is a visual representation of how sick our society is. Homelessness is the cost of our way of life. You can elect whoever you want for president. Homelessness is not going away because our culture produces homelessness the way that our stomachs produce digestive juices. It's just part of how our economic system works. So while I certainly respect and partner with many people who provide direct services to homeless people and really value the work that folks like Ritter Center and the Downtown Streets team and AHO do, because I think it's essential to help to lower the stress of people who are living in these situations, to have dignity, to have work, to have community, to have bathrooms and laundry and showers. What's really going to solve homelessness is broad systemic change. And I think it's easy to say, right? And easy to sort of resonate with that. Yes, we need to change the system. And from my perspective, what changes the system is being in community with each other. What changes the system is not jumping to conclusions and being in relationship from a place of love and compassion. And maybe that's a little touchy-feely, but it's what I notice in my work when I'm spending time with people who are some of the most service-resistant folks, that when they're received without judgment, when they are listened to with compassion, they become different people. And that's been my experience anyway. So what I end up doing is, in partnership with the Ritter Center, I visit people in jail who are incarcerated. I work with the jail's re-entry team, trying to help ease people back into the community after they're incarcerated. I work with the behavioral wellness team at the Ritter Center and establish relationships with people who may not be showing up for their appointments, or who we may not have seen in a while. So I'll go out and look for folks and help to encourage them to come back to their clinic appointment, or to see their therapist, or to speak with a drug and alcohol counselor. I also lead a couple of groups each week of my own. One of them is followed by a community meal that some of you have volunteered with just this week, actually. Thank you. And one of the most basic human things that we all do is eat. And I think, for me, theologically, sitting together around a common table and sharing food is one of the most spiritually nurturing things that we can do. So food is at the center of our Tuesday gathering, and we create a welcoming space for whoever wants to come. In whatever state of mind they're in, they're welcome to join us and be with us at the table. So that's me. So thank you for being here. Thanks for being interested in the topic.
Any questions for Paul? Stand up so we can hear you.
I have a question about the role of the churches. It seems like they might be one component of the answer to this problem. I know you don't have money and you don't have food generally, but I think you might have space. I wonder if you could, or any churches that have open rooms that aren't used very much sometimes, find a way to connect with homeless people that I suspect do not have shelter for many nights, and perhaps in exchange for volunteer work or some kind of upkeep, could use the community room or whatever it's called in the church. I also think that these days a lot of people have left the church and don't either go or support their former church. And I wonder if you could be in on the ground level of something so close to them in their own community as taking care of people who would be on the street for the night. They might consider more donation or more participation themselves.
So the rotating emergency shelter team, or the REST program, which is facilitated by St. Vincent de Paul Society, does just that. It cooperates with a number of congregations across Marin, and allows people each night to sleep on the floors in their sanctuaries or in their community rooms. So that's about the closest thing that's happening to what you're suggesting. My organization, I personally don't have space. I operate out of a closet, literally at the Ritter Center, and out of my living room, and basically on the sidewalks and the street corners. So I would love to have a space, and I would do exactly that if I had a space, a sanctuary. I would keep it open for for anyone who needed a place to sleep. Unfortunately, so I had experimented with this in the past in cooperation with a local congregation, and they invited somebody to stay in their facility, and it worked out okay. And so hopefully more congregations will, on an individual basis, work relationships with folks who are living outside to help them, help provide some stable place for them to sleep. But the closest thing that's happening around that right now is the REST program.
Well, can I put in a plug then for the organizing committee?
Yeah.
Because that, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that is an organization of 16 or 17 faith communities who become members. And the goal of the organizing committee is to address issues like this in the community. They were instrumental in getting the REST program going. They were also big advocates for having a permanent rest shelter year-round on Mark Drive in Lewis Valley. And if some of you know politics around that, the NIMBYism in the neighborhood of, no, we're not going to have homeless people in our neighborhood. So they're back to the drawing board. But it's that kind of advocacy that's needed that churches really need to be behind, so that your board of supervisors and your city council people, listen to this block of voters, can organize to do things that are really going to make a difference.
And next to that, is there any initiative for finding any space at Fort Mason or on the Presidio or out in Point Reyes? I know there's a hospital out there, but is there any progress made on finding some old government property that can be refurbished and used?
Not in Marin County. Not that I'm aware of.
The issue is also location and how people get to these spots. That's also an issue, and where other services are. Do we have other questions? Any students?
I'll put in another plug for Laura's book, because I found this book to be inspirational and also profoundly helpful in understanding the structural complexities of homelessness, and how our attitudes, sometimes even unconsciously, our attitudes and our actions contribute to the oppression of people. It was a really eye-opening book, and I recommend it highly.
Oh, go ahead, Leonie.
Just for, I don't know if anybody wants to ask this, but if there was something that in your organization you could tell people that they could make a daily change or something in their life, what would be one way that people would do something about the issue of homelessness or hunger in Marin County?
Can we actually, that's a great question. Can we save it till after?
Yeah.
Because that's one I'd like to open up to all the panelists.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to Sally. Sally is an old friend of mine. I was in school with her way back when. Sally Hinman is the founder and executive director of Youth Spirit Artworks in Berkeley. She has 25 years of management and other experience working with nonprofit organizations serving homeless people. She previously directed Berkeley, California's Interfaith Chaplaincy to the Homeless and set up its Telegraph Avenue Drop-In Center for Homeless Youth. She's the co-founder of Street Spirit, the San Francisco East Bay homeless newspaper. She has a Master's of Divinity degree and an MA degree from Pacific School of Religion and an undergraduate degree from Cornell University. She served as an adjunct faculty member at the Graduate Theological Union for Art, Religion, and Education, and Stark King School for the Ministry, teaching liberation art. In 1998, she received KPFA Radio's Alice Hamburg Community Service Award for her outstanding leadership in serving homeless people in the East Bay. Sally's been a member of the Religious Society of Friends, the Quakers, since 1984. Please welcome Sally.
Very old. It's been around a long time. It's great to be here and to be able to share with all of you. And I hope that we can come out of this with some ideas, fresh ideas of ways that we can tackle the problems of homelessness. because I think that everybody here is doing some amazing, amazing work. And we do really want to make America great again. So that's going to involve ending homelessness, right? So the organization that I run is Youth Spirit Artworks, and we are an art jobs training program. We provide jobs through art for homeless and low-income, underserved youth ages 16 to 25. And our motto, and in a way our theology, is art saves lives. And we really think it does. And I want to just lift up some of the ideas that were presented by folks here talking about what we're doing, and I think why it's helpful for ending homelessness. And that is, you know, we work with youth in community in a situation where youth are really leading in the decision making in everything that we do. And the community that we provide for youth really makes it so that they are getting a lot of support for exactly where they are right now and the challenges that they're facing. And so we're working with about 150 youth a year, and they climb a progression ladder in our program, going from just beginners, and everybody gets paid, and then they climb the progression ladder and they get paid more at every level and go off into the work world. And so youth are approaching what they're doing. They define their passions and their strengths and their interests, and they work in 6 different areas of focus that all involve running our organization. So they do nonprofit management, they do social media, they do community organizing, they do social services, they do entrepreneurship and sales. So these are some of the things that they're pursuing. And so through those, we have a whole number of different programs and projects, but our work is in 3 key areas. We have a studio art program, so there's tons of art being made in the studio on themes that are chosen by our youth. Right now they're focusing on gentrification and displacement and dislocation of homeless and poor people. And then art sales, where they're taking art that they make in the studio and they're mass producing it on tote bags and t-shirts and selling it and making money so that they can support themselves in really cool ways. And then community art, where they're involved in doing murals and all kinds of community art to better the community in ways that they choose. So I just want to mention a few of the really cool things that our youth have been doing this year. One of the things that we're really concerned about is the fact that on the one hand, there's been no place for people, there's been no housing for anybody, no new housing. And so we're involved, our youth got involved in working to create a tiny house village. And the first youth tiny house village in our community, and actually right now it's going to be the first tiny house community. And the thing that they like about that is that it won't take 8 years to build, you know, this community. It'll be something that they can get up and running in the next 2 years. And our approach is adopt a tiny house by congregations. So because we're interfaith, we're working with the religious community in like choosing a tiny house that they want to try to support as a congregation. And so our youth are going to be in a tiny house village with 13 to 20 houses, and they're going to be able to use the money that they're making in our program to, you know, pay their rent and work to get other things that they're trying to get. So that's super cool. Right now we're painting 2 murals on the topic of gentrification and displacement, and right here as I'm standing here, our youth are out like painting these 2 murals that are both in South Berkeley, which has faced incredible gentrification issues and, you know, people being displaced, long-term residents being displaced. So they're using these murals as talking points to be able to talk about our tiny house village, about the way that people are being displaced, about affordable housing in South Berkeley, and how we can use the new bond measures that have been passed to build more affordable housing. And we're part of a neighborhood association in our neighborhood that we're very active in, and our youth are really big leaders in. And so we're really pushing through the power of that neighborhood association to do a lot more affordable housing in South Berkeley. And right now we're focused on Ashby-Bart and being able to get at least 200 units of housing at Ashby-Bart that's affordable that youth will be able to, you know, partake in. So those are some of the things. We're also really concerned about the encampment that's been set up in the community. because people didn't have houses and couldn't get into the shelter or didn't want to. And we're trying to make sure that there's no more harassment of people that are in the encampment and that it isn't taken apart. And we're really defending that and organizing to defend that. Thank you so much, and I'm excited about questions coming out of this. Wonderful folks.
Questions for Sally?
Jeremy gave me one.
Okay.
After Sandra had to leave, and Zara and,
Oh, wait, we're still with Sally right now. Are you?
yeah, but Sally,
Okay.
if Sally can, I think you can. What are some ways in which being homeless affects students' educational experience, especially ways people might not anticipate?
I think that in our organization, we're working with the homeless youth that are in the high schools. And one of the things that's not great that we need to make great is that we have 240 homeless youth in the Berkeley high schools. And that's just like really, really difficult. And one of the ways that we're tackling that is one, through our tiny house project. That'll be some youth will be able to get housed through that. But also, we're really focused on working with youth that are homeless and working with them on tutoring and being able to make it even though they're dealing with poverty. And through case management and our social services, we are working to try to get people as housed as we can in the circumstances we face.
Can you repeat the question?
What are some ways in which being homeless affects students' educational experience, especially ways people might not anticipate?
I think for me, since I left school, it's been harder for me to get back in school, I think, because being so stressed, being on the streets, and even though I am in a shelter right now, I know it's only for 6 months, and I work, and so I'm trying to figure out how to work and to go back to school and to save money to get my housing and stuff, how that's all going to work together. And I think that I never thought I'd be in this situation. I was you guys sitting in those seats not too long ago. I never thought I would be up here. And I think that it's just harder. People kind of doubt that you can go back to school and you can work and stuff. And it's been stressful for me. I wanted to go back to school for a long time, but I knew I wasn't in the right state of mind to get there. And now that I'm getting more stable, it's going to be easier for me to go back to school. But you can't do much until you have some sort of stability. And I think stability is the biggest issue in that.
Other questions? Well, should we go to Leonie's question? You want to repeat it? And this is for the whole panel.
What are some things that people can do, a daily change or something that they can work into their life that supports what the work that you do or helps to make changes in the community?
Just stand up so we can hear you.
So we have a downtown streets team branch in San Francisco, and they launched a campaign called the Just Say Hi campaign. And it's all about, and we actually have a video. If you go to YouTube and check out Downtown Streets Team and Just Say Hi, it's a really touching video. I almost dropped a tear. Trust me. But it's really, in talking to people on a daily basis, it's true, because the team members, ever since they joined the team, they say people stopped ignoring them. They say the hardest part about being homeless to them is not even being looked at as a human being. And the fact that someone just says hi and waves and says, how's your day going, it means the world to them. So I think just saying hi and not turning a blind eye to people on the street is a great place to start.
And another thing I'll add to that is just incorporating volunteering in an organization of your choice throughout the year. A lot of times nonprofits see a huge spike in donations and people wanting to stay involved, between Thanksgiving and the holidays, but then, that kind of drops off throughout the rest of the year. So, whether it's the beginning of the summer or, the middle of fall, start to get involved in your community, as has been discussed, not just at just a certain amount of time, whether it's for like a class requirement or something, but stay involved all year. And here at Dominican, there's so many great clubs and organizations you can get involved with where you can do a project and volunteer all year round. So definitely seek those out if you're not already.
Service learning classes. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just piggyback off of what Logan said, which I think is probably the simplest thing that any of us can do is to not ignore people, to notice people, to say hi, to be kind, and I think also to not. This is maybe a bigger conversation, but to not allow our lives to be ruled by our fear of the unknown. And I think that's, you can apply that to pretty much anything in your life, but I think in relationship to homeless people and poor people in particular, there's a lot of fear about those particular people, and really no data to back up that fear. Homeless people hurt each other more than they hurt housed people. And people with mental health problems are no less violent than the population at large. But we're fed a line, we're fed a group of stories that encourage us to be afraid of people who are different from us, that encourage us to be afraid of people who don't look like us or don't act like us. And, it's one of my favorite quotes, be not afraid, have some trust in humanity and our shared humanity, and our ability to connect with one another, even with strangers. So I think, that's where I come down on that.
Maura?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. That's okay. I just want to say, when it involves things like education, something as small as buying a bus pass for youth, because with my own experience, I had to wake up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning just to get to school, but somebody believed in me and somebody bought me a bus pass so I could go to school, because I would have to beg the bus drivers every morning until an hour, because I would get passed over just so I could go to school. And also things like, you don't get birthday presents, you don't get Christmas presents, donate, take time out of your day to donate maybe $5. Also, there's things like food even, I couldn't even eat the food that was given to me or provided to me, because people have different health issues, different foods that they need to eat. Some people are gluten-free or lactose, etc. But just making sure that people have different options and things available to them. And I commend you for the work that you do. It's just different for people to see homeless people who are stereotypically look homeless and think that those are the only people who are homeless, because homeless people vary from kids to the older people, and I probably looked like an everyday person on the street, but you never know what people are going through, and the small things that you can do, just believing in somebody, like you guys said, and basically taking the time to say, oh, this person can matter, and look where I am now, and just investing a small bit every day in somebody for a week or a month can significantly help somebody's everyday life, because anything can go wrong, your house can burn down, and you can be a regular person, like she said, and never know that this would happen to you, but it can happen to anybody, and we all have the potential to help each other, and yeah.
Laura, I just want to comment on a couple of things, and so people will understand that I think I know a little bit about some of the problems in this county, having been a county planning commissioner, a San Rafael city councilman, a grand juror, and a foreman of the grand jury, and now president of the Grand Jury Association. We track a lot of these things. But I have several questions for all of you up here, because I haven't heard any real solutions other than Downtown Streets team, which is helping get some people off the street. I hear a lot of feel-good solutions, but I don't hear anything concrete, and I came to hear something concrete. Now, I learned yesterday that there are give or take, 1,700 nonprofits in Marin County alone. And I wonder how many of you would be willing to consolidate your efforts of your organization with others so we reduce the number of nonprofits who go around with their hand out. Would you like to comment?
Well, I do just want to comment on, there are 1,700 nonprofits in Marin. They serve a wide range of communities. Some of them are arts organizations.
I understand that. But out of that, there's got to be a significant number that are trying to do what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that was brought up earlier is kind of looking at it as a county. We do have over 1,300 people who are homeless in Marin, but those people experiencing homelessness are not located in one central location. There are clumps of individuals in different cities, whether it's San Rafael, Novato, Sausalito, but they are, at the end of the day, all over Marin County. And so consolidating some organizations isn't always going to be beneficial if they get consolidated into one location, and that might cut off services from different locations around the county. So that would just be my first comment on that. As far as concrete solutions go, I mean, a huge part of it is not just on the nonprofits, but it has to come from the community at large. So that includes the city, different cities around Marin County, and the county itself. So it's, all these approaches have to be tackled. It can't be tackled by any kind of one group to really make some significant changes.
That's right.
So it's hard as just our panelists to present a kind of concrete plan without having kind of all those interests right here.
Speaking to that point, 2 years ago, the Marin County Civil Grand Jury wrote a report about homelessness, saying that the cities cannot solve the problem. They don't have social services. Only the county is in a position to do a real job of coordinating everybody's efforts. Did any of you read that report? And what do you think?
Sure. If the county is interested in building housing, creating...
it's more than housing. It's coordinating all the efforts. They had a coordinator who wasn't really doing anything because he had no responsibility.
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, it just feels like you are really just interested in arguing, and...
No, I'm not interested in arguing. I've been working on these kind of problems for 50 years, and I'm still looking for people to come up with some answers.
You sound real angry, and I don't know why you sound so angry.
Because I have to speak up.
All of us are doing the work that we can do. And I hear that the work that you can do is to get angry and to ask who's solving the problem.
I'm not angry. I'm trying to make sure you hear me.
But here's what. Concrete solution. Build more housing. Concrete solution. Let's open up a half of 1% of the 70% of our land that's open space and allow people to camp and live in those areas free of fear from being arrested or ticketed. Those are two concrete solutions that we could do. One, immediately. We could immediately get people living more safely and more ecologically. We could build tiny houses. I think that what's happening in Berkeley is a beautiful thing. It's really inexpensive to build tiny houses. We have the land in this county to do that. And so I've proposed these solutions before to various groups of people. No one in this county seems interested in doing anything progressive or interesting. So we'd rather just sit here and argue about who's doing what, and we have too many nonprofits in this county. Oh, we all need to consolidate. Well, what's the point?
I didn't say you all need to consolidate. I'm saying there's an inefficiency I found in the number of nonprofits working on the same things. I'd like to move on to another question, Laura.
Can I just respond real quickly?
I think we're supposed to end at 1:15.
Yeah, we only
What are you doing about the rats, Simone?
I'm going to stop there because we are near the end. Can I just give a quick response? Sure. One thing in my book was not looking at it at a county level, so these are organizations that are trying, someone said put a Band-Aid on things. They're trying to deal with the need. We're not going to address homelessness unless we have structural changes. And it's not just county level, it's city level, county level, state level, and national. Things like minimum wage. You cannot afford rent on $15 an hour job in Marin. So we've got to talk about wages. We've got to talk about affordable housing. I've been working on affordable housing in Marin, and there's tons of resistance. Someone mentioned the NIMBYism. Nobody wants affordable housing in their backyard. So there are simple solutions. I would say housing and wages are two of the most key. Also healthcare. I mean, we've been hearing about the Affordable Care Act. That was a new move forward to make sure everybody had healthcare, but some premiums are still going up, so something has to still be done better about the healthcare issue. So homelessness can't be just addressed by homeless organizations. This is an issue that needs a multi-pronged approach where you're addressing housing, salary, wages, tax policy, healthcare policy, a whole number of different policies. And so it's tough.
You are doing a good job of what you're doing. It just isn't solving.
Well,
So-
and I think,
Two more comments and then we need to end.
and I think, I think it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be very, very upset. What we have missed over the last few years is that it turns into finger pointing, and it actually should bring the conversation closer together rather than polarizing the conversation the way it has. We know we're not being efficient because there is not a structural system to allow for the changes to actually happen. So this frustration, rather than finger pointing, should bring us closer at the table to have the difficult conversations that we need to have to push this issue forward. And unless we have that fire, and unless we have that uncomfortable conversations, nothing is going to change at 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
One last comment and then we'll end.
So, I guess the last thing I'll say is one thing that I've noticed, just to kind of bring it all together. I like the outfit. I like that. Wish I had said that. But one thing that I've noticed over the past few years is that it's become a conversation over whether the county should be doing this or the city should be doing this. And the biggest impact came from a wage not being a livable wage anymore. It came from national level, and it just all rolled downhill. With that being said, the one thing I want to point out, and you guys can put this on your Facebook walls, make this status: homelessness is an experience, not an identity. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody,
Yeah,
for coming.
and I just wanted to offer, I was like really excited that we could actually see this as a neutral space where we could bring people together to have some of these hard discussions. I would like to offer us as that kind of partner as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciated having you.